FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is June 9th, 2020. Well, we've seen these riots, and, well, it seems like the riots are over. We're really dealing with bona fide protest demonstrations around the country, around the world. Is this part of the bigger plan? What's really going on here? Well, somebody who's written a book about it is going to talk with us now. I want to get your opinion first, though. Email us, kl@kerrylutz.com, kl@kerrylutz.com. The name of the book is The Iron Triangle: Inside the Liberal Democrat Plan to Use Race to Divide Christians and America in Their Quest for Power and How We Can Defeat Them, written by Vince Everett Ellison. Vince, it's great to have you on the show. So what is the plan?
The plan is absolute power. The Democratic Party is the most prolific and long-lasting criminal empire in the history of the world right now. Ever since their beginning in the 1800s, they've always have a way to legally commit murder. From 1800 to 1860, it was slavery. From 1860 to 1865, it was Civil War. From 1865 to 1965, it was Jim Crow, where they just violated constitutional rights, hung people from trees, took their property and their life and their liberty. And after that, they had Roe v. Wade, where they now just kill children in the womb and after they're born. So this is who they are. And they've always been a party of evil. They've always known that they either had to lie about Christianity or divide Christians in order to achieve their power. And this is just variation on a thing. They've always used Black people for either entertainment or exploitation. And right now, this is absolute exploitation. They care nothing about Mr. Floyd. They would have given him a cup of water 5 minutes before the white officer killed him. His only value to them is that he was killed by a white man. And they need the race thing. If it doesn't exist, they will have to invent it to keep Black and white Christians divided, because they know without 90% of the Black vote, they cannot. They have no power in America. And so they'll do anything to keep us under their control. And this is just part of their plan to make sure that we stay exactly where we're supposed to be on their plantation, doing what they want us to do.
You're kind of, I hear shades of Candace Owens here you're echoing.
Well, it's well to any intelligent Black person, it's very, very clear. I mean, it goes all the way back to the movie Bulworth back in the 90s, when he was asked Bulworth finally decided to tell the truth about what was going on, and he was telling people about how the Democrats treat Black people, and the Black lady in the audience say, "Are you trying to tell me that Democrats don't care anything about Black people?" And Bulworth said, "Isn't it obvious?" I mean, it's been obvious for years. Look around you. If we have eyes, but it started from the civil rights movement. In his book Words That Work, Frank Lutz asked Larry King what was his favorite, most memorable interview. And he said Martin Luther King Jr. in 1964, when Dr. King was trying to integrate this hotel down in Florida. And when the police came and asked King what he wanted, King said, "My dignity." Mm-hmm. I hate that story, because it implies that Martin Luther King Jr. had to walk to a white man for his dignity, where your dignity is yours. Mm-hmm. Nobody can give it to you. Yes. Dr. King also went to the March on Washington and said, we came to 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, the Negro is still not free. That is a lie. I was born free. God gave me my freedom. Nobody can take it from me. It's an unalienable right. It is irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. And then he said that we've come here to cash a check that will give us freedom, liberty, and justice upon when we bring it to no. See, this started us on a path where we started giving government powers that were reserved only for God. Dignity, freedom, life, liberty. Government doesn't give you that. So whenever we figure that we are we don't have our freedom, we go to government for it. Whenever we think we're being treated badly, we go to government for it. Racism is not a government problem anymore. There's not a statute in America that supports racism. It is now a heart condition that can only be cured in our synagogues, our mosques, and our churches. And we go to government to cure racism? It's a fool's errand. But again, the Democratic Party has told black people that we are your God, you come to us, and this is why we suffer.
Yeah, it's like expecting government to end poverty, right? There's always been rich,
Exactly.
There's always been poor.
Always will be. And it's not being poor, it's how you deal with poverty. It's like those saying, you can't control what happens to you. All you control is how you respond to it. I've seen people that they said technically poor are the nicest people in the world, the happiest people in the world. And then you'll see the ones living in the mansions, upset, angry, on drugs, doing suicidal. But the people with the simple life, they're the happiest ones. And so they want to tell us, well, if you're poor, you should be upset and you should be happy. And that's how they spread envy. That's how they spread hatred. That's how they spread jealousy. All this social justice stuff is only those things: envy, jealousy, hatred. And they tell black people, you should have this, you should have that. And these dirty, rich white Republicans are keeping it from you. I call my book the Iron Triangle because I found after working in prison 5 years, there were three entities that were keeping black people under the control of the Democrat Party. It was the black preacher, the black civic organizer, and the black politician. They worked in tandem and were getting paid by rich white liberals to keep black people under control for the Democrat Party. Your listeners can go to my book. My website, irontrianglebook.com, irontrianglebook.com. And they can follow me on Twitter at Vince E. Ellison. Yeah. And I tweet almost every day. And on my website, they'll find different information that'll help them understand. And this book is written to try to help conservatives and Christians talk to one another, because black people are 85% Christian, white people are 75% Christian, but black people vote liberal, white Christians vote mostly conservative, and we talk past each other. And these people in the middle, these leftists are telling us that we hate each other and they make us fight. It's like watching Star Wars when Luke and Darth Vader were fighting and the Sith was sitting in the middle laughing because he's the instigator of the fight and he was causing them to fight and he was enjoying the fight. That's us. And we're giving them, we're like slaves in the gladiator arena, fighting one another while the emperor's saying they're laughing at us. It has to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. So these false flag type things. What do you think of Black Lives Matter? What is their deal?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Financial Survival Network is brought to you today by Oren Resources, a junior exploration company with the appetite of a major. It's hot on the trail of the next globally significant discovery, creating enormous potential upside for you, the shareholder. Oren is one of the most aggressive exploration companies pursuing high-grade, scalable gold and copper deposits, and has a premier 7-project portfolio, including its 2 flagships, Committee Bay in the Arctic and Sombrero in Peru. Oren's unparalleled technical team and highly experienced management has a history of success in advancing and monetizing exploration assets. No wonder Oren's been called one of the best in the junior exploration sector. Oren trades on the TSX and the NYSE under AUG. To learn more, go to orenresources.com. That's AURYN resources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization that's anti-Christian, anti-family. It is supported by the globalists that want to tear down America so they can have this one world government. And they care nothing about the black community. They use black pain for white liberal gain. That's all. They exploit the pain of the black community, and they don't care about the 7,000 black men that die, or about the almost 1 million black babies that are aborted, or the public school system that is creating a cultural genocide in Black America. They care about one thing: keeping the black vote for the liberal movement in the Democrat Party. That's it. And they use and the press is right with them, because they see us. They have this contemptuous view of us, that they have to save us in some way, that it is their responsibility to make sure that we are given justice, and that and they have this white guilt thing that they have to, we have to make amends for all of the bad things that we've done. Here's the kicker on that though, man. They can't do it. It's like me shooting somebody in the head and then trying to be a brain surgeon, right? I don't know how to do it. They don't know how to fix Black America. Mm-hmm. Black America has to fix itself. They have to just get out of the way,
Yeah.
You burn down somebody's house doesn't mean you necessarily have the tools to rebuild it. And Black America asking them and demanding that they rebuild it is ridiculous because they don't know how to rebuild it. And the only thing you're going to get is a shanty town. So these liberals, these bleeding hearts, instead of telling them, we don't know how to do this, we'll help you find somebody that can, are out there throwing money at it, coming up with crazy ideas, and they're just doing Black people worse, and worse. It doesn't work.
Yeah. And I agree with you. It should be about self-empowerment rather than the government's going to take care of you. To say that a Black person can't make it on their own, isn't that really a form of racism?
Sure it is. These liberals are the most racist people in the world. They're the most racist. They're the most evil. But here's the big problem. The GOP will not go down and engage the Black community. There's an old vaudevillian term. It says 90% of any gig is just showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Allen said that too.
there it is. And conservatives and the Republicans just don't show up.
But President Trump has kind of been the exception there, hasn't he?
There he is. That's right. He has jumped over the media. He's used Twitter. Social media has given him an avenue to do what no other conservative or Republican has done. President Trump is the first Republican president to talk to the Black community since Abraham Lincoln went to Richmond in 1865. The rest of them just spoke in generalities. But Trump tells you exactly what he's doing for you. And the Republican Party will not do it. The conservatives will not do it. But at least they're not doing damage. At least, if you're in a fight with a guy, you fight the guy in front of you. You don't hit the bystander, right?
Right.
So the Republicans are bystanders, but the Democrats are actually trying to bust your brains out. So that's who I'm fighting. And that's who I'm telling America. I'm telling white liberals who think that the Democrat Party is helping Black people. No, they're not. They are hurting them. And they've been hurting them for the last 50 years, and they're going to continue.
So I got a question for you. In the 60s, before the civil rights movement, before all of the legislation that was passed, before the emergence of the welfare state, Black families, roughly 85% had fathers. Now It's almost the opposite. And has that been an orchestrated plan, deliberate?
Oh yeah. In my book, I do a chapter on it. Patrick Moynihan told Lyndon Johnson about this in 1865.
1965.
In the Moynihan Report. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. 1965 in the Moynihan Report. And he told Moynihan to take this report to the civil rights community. In his book, David Garrow wrote about this, and Bearing the Cross. David Garrow wrote about this meeting between Dr. King and the civil rights community and Moynihan when he presented this report. In his book, he said that it's a wonder that Moynihan got out of that room alive. They called him everything but a child of God. They attacked him, because the women in the civil rights movement did not want to put the man in charge of the family. Moynihan said we have to put the Black man back in charge of his family in order to keep the Black family intact. And we have to use all of our government resources to do that. The civil rights movement rejected it. Out of that came the man out clause. Instead of money to bring the family together, they gave money to tear the family apart. And in one generation, they destroyed it. And now they have absolute control over it. And this was an orchestrated plan. And Ralph Abernathy, in his book, And the Walls Came Tumbling Down, said that he came to the civil rights community and the Democrats in the 1980s and told them that we have 3 generations of people on welfare. We got to get them off. And he said it pleased them. It pleased them. It was curious to him. And that's when Ralph Abernathy endorsed Ronald Reagan in 1980, because he said that these people were locking Black people systematically into a system of poverty so they could control them. And this was Abernathy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was orchestrated.
And so we hear this all the time, and we know that in homes where there's no father figure, Black or white, odds of dropping out go way, way up. Odds of winding up in prison, way, way up, of committing crimes, murders, etc., of never finishing high school, not going to college. Why, we've been having this campaign here, Vince, against smoking since the 60s, almost at the birth of the civil rights movement, interestingly enough. It's been extremely successful. The vast majority of people in the country no longer smoke cigarettes. Why don't we have a campaign against single motherhood? It's even worse than smoking. Yeah.
Well, this is what they want. The Brookings Institute came out with a study that said if you do 3 things, there's a 98% chance that you will not live in poverty. One was get married.
Yeah.
Other one was work full time. Third one was don't have a child before you are 21 and be married when you do. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and have a high school diploma. Now, what we have here is a situation where the Democrat Party knows all of this. So what do? They destroy the educational system. They start sex education when a child is like 6, 7, 8 years old, so they learn how to have sex and have children before their time. You know, and then they destroy the economic base of the Black community in the ghettos by giving no security, having all of these riots and all of this stuff.
Yes.
And this is what they do. So they know this. They don't want it. It is part of the plan, and they are assaulting the Black community, and they hold us in contempt. So what I want your people to do is go by the Iron Triangle.
Yes.
It'll help them and give them the information that they need. This guy sent me a text the other day. He said, Mr. Ellison, I used your book, a white guy, to go to an Antifa meeting, and I used your book as kryptonite. Shut it down. And I said, wow, man, that was great. He said, I was a white guy in an Antifa meeting to shut it down with your book.
Wow. And Walter Williams has said the same thing, Thomas Sowell. I remember when we were having welfare reform. That was during Bush's first term, I guess. And Moynihan made these dire predictions that these people were going to starve. They'd be out on the street because their welfare was conditioned on going back into the workforce. And he turned out to be 1,000% wrong. We had a whole new generation of Black women, especially, who'd never held a job, who'd second, third generation welfare recipients, and they entered the job market. It was fabulously successful. And yet we've forgotten that. I had not read about that experiment. That was almost 30 years ago. And everyone seems to have forgotten it.
Well, these riots all this was designed to make sure Black people ran back on the plantation. To make sure that they understood that they had to break what Donald Trump was doing in the Black community. So this whole thing was show. And right now, as you see, the Democrats are full court press of scaring the heck out of Black society. You've seen Black mayors all over the country telling them, no, don't go back to work. Don't go back to work. Everybody else wants to go back to work. But all of these Black mayors and Black politicians are in unison telling the Black community to stay at home. Don't go to work. Don't go to work. And so when the unemployment numbers came out this past week, it showed that Black unemployment had moved too much. But why? Our Black leaders were telling Black people to be afraid, to not go to work. Now, why would you tell someone not to work? It is their plan. This is what they want to do. Okay. And God knows, man, this is hurting and it's destroying America. It really, really is.
And there's nothing worse than these schools where they're supposedly getting educated that have been turned into nothing more than warehouses. And then when we get charter schools, which shows that these kids can be educated and they are intelligent, we have a war against them. Like in New York, the governor there, Comrade de Blasio, one of the things he ran on to garner favor with the teachers union was that he was going to shut down charter schools.
Of course. Yeah, man, that's what they do. What we have to do, though, is start talking to our brothers and sisters. This book, the biggest problem we have is that a lot of the people that know the information, like yourself and a lot of my white brothers and sisters, don't have the credibility because the Democrats have such damage to the credibility of white conservatives in the Black community. That's why it's so instrumental to use people like myself. I worked in a prison. I grew up in the Jim Crow South. I was in a gospel music group for years. Brother, I got another interview I got coming in right now.
All right, not a problem. Well, hey, just tell us the name of the book again and the website, please.
It's Iron Triangle, irontrianglebook.com.
All right. And Vince, thank you so much. Really appreciate you having come on the show. I think your message is really important, and we will help get it out for you. Again, any questions or comments, kl@kerrylutz.com, kl@kerrylutz.com. The Twitter feed is @KerryLutz. Of course, our website, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Vince, we wish you the best of luck on the book. Thanks so much.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.